Before I even hit play on this video, y'all see what it says on the screen. It says why you should buy everything with credit cards. I'm here to tell you right now, you should not buy everything with credit cards, especially if you're young. That's probably one of the worst things that you can do. And what I need for y'all to do is to watch this entire video all the way through so that I can make sure that you don't end up broke listening to CNBC.
Love them or hate them, those plastic or metal cards that can instantly purchase anything from a coffee to a car are no stranger to consumers. More than 80% of Americans own at least one credit card. Every time you pay for something with a credit card, you're borrowing money from the card issuer to cover your purchase.
And therein lies the problem. The borrower will always be slave to the lender. Now, I'm not finna full on go Dave Ramsey on y'all and say you should never use a credit card. You should never borrow money for a car or a house or anything. Everything should be bought with cash. I don't believe everything should be bought with cash, but I also don't believe everything should be bought with a credit card. Now, on paper, from a pure logic standpoint, yes, it would make sense to buy everything with a credit card because you get points on everything that you buy on a credit card. Where that logic fails is it doesn't take into account the human aspect of the person using the credit card, where a lot of the time when you just have access to, especially if you were a bank like me, like Navy Federal, man, I got a $25,000 limit on my first credit card. Like, when psychologically, when you have access to just have free reign to spend that much money on a credit card that's not even your money, you tend to just start swiping and swiping and swiping. And before you know, that balance then got out of control. Now, I'm going to let this video rock out. I'm going to let it play a little bit more. But if I hear some foolishness, I'm going to pause it and debunk it.
While it might feel like it, it's certainly not free. You then have to pay that money back either in full at the end of the month or over time.
No, pay it in full.
The average
pay it in full every month.
Charges about 20% interest these days. So it is a very profitable business.
So first thing,
it's extremely profitable. I hope y'all just heard what he said. Credit card interest on average is about 22%. I didn't look that up before this video. I don't know if that's valid, but that's what my guy just said. And he's on CNBC, so I assume it's kind of valid. Don't let it get out of control, y'all. Pay your bill in full every single month at the end of the month. Do not carry a balance.
First, if you're not in a place where you can pay that money back by the time it's due, experts don't recommend you have a credit card at all.
Exactly.
Paying 20% interest on a balance that you've accumulated, and then you pay interest on top of that. I mean, that's a really big hole that you're continuing to dig, and it's going to be really hard to get out of if you don't pay your credit card balance.
Credit cards require approval. Once you're approved, the bank authorizes a credit limit or the maximum amount of money you can borrow. That depends on factors such as your income, your other debts, and how much available credit you have on other cards. But here's the caveat. Whether or not you're approved depends on your credit score. Meanwhile, your credit score is determined by your credit report, the information related to your credit activity you might not have if you don't have a credit card. It's a catch-22.
How do you build your credit history? Well, the simplest thing is really to get a credit card, use your credit card, and pay it on time.
The simplest thing for you to do is to go get a secured credit card. What a secured credit card is basically you will put up, let's say, $1,000 or $2,000 of your own money, and that money that you put up will act as your credit limit. Now, y'all should go look into the finer details with your bank. I'm not about to get deep into it because I'm not a financial expert. I'm just a guy on the internet that likes to talk about money. But the point is, don't misuse credit cards. A secure credit card, or maybe even a pledge loan, if your bank does that, is probably the best route that you can go.
Credit scores generally range from 300 to 850. The higher the credit score, the more responsible you're deemed. Credit scores not only affect whether or not you get approved for credit cards, but also your credit limit and your interest rate on loans, mortgages, and the terms lenders may assign you. Insurance providers, landlords, and employers might also want to do a check to determine your trustworthiness.
If your goals are to buy a house, get a car, get a loan, the first thing that you need to do in order to build your credit history is to get that credit card going.
This is why I say at the beginning of the video, I'm not going to go full Dave Ramsey and tell y'all not to, use credit for anything, because realistically, most of us fall in the middle class. Middle class income is about $50,000 to $150,000 a year, give or take a couple of thousand, depending on exactly where you're looking at on the internet. And the average combined household income in the United States of America right now in 2024, moving into 2025, is right around $80,000. Again, depending on where exactly you're looking, what study you're looking at, it may be, give or take a couple of thousand, but it's right around that $80,000 mark. Most people cannot just outright afford to buy a house. Most people cannot outright afford to just buy a car, which is why it's extremely important, and why I'm speaking a little passionately on this. It's extremely important that you don't mess up your credit score behind a credit card because you were young and dumb and undisciplined. Get a secured credit card, or even just a more simple credit card. Use that joint to just buy gas or buy groceries, buy basic everyday items, and pay it off at the end of the week. Pay your balance off in full at the end of every month. Please, I am begging y'all, do not mess up your credit behind some foolishness.
Those Jennifer Garner commercials are for Capital One, but there are numerous companies in the U.S. that offer a wide range of credit cards. There's the issuers, American Express, Discover, Bank of America, Citi, Wells Fargo, and then there are the networks. They facilitate transactions between the merchants and the card issuers. The four major card networks are Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover.
And if you don't know this, I highly recommend you get a Visa. Everybody likes to talk about American Express. American Express is cool, I guess, but everywhere you shop does not take American Express. For example, I shop at Costco a lot. Costco does not take American Express. So I use a Visa when I'm in Costco. If you're traveling internationally, if you're anywhere outside of the country, usually they will only take a Visa or maybe a MasterCard. Most of the time, they don't take American Express. I'm only saying this because American Express is relatively popular. A lot of people like American Express. It's cool, but at least always have a Visa in your wallet.
Two of the world's largest card networks, American Express and Discover, are also card issuers. There are standard credit cards, rewards cards, balance transfer, charge, student, business, secured, limited purpose, prepaid cards.
You don't need all of those.
The list goes on. Different options that may or may not be right for you depending on your personal circumstances. Standard credit cards are the most traditional type. They have an annual percentage rate or APR, sign-up bonuses, annual fees, late payment fees, balance transfer fees, foreign transaction fees, and the most exciting, rewards.
There's actually a whole industry dedicated to maximizing credit card points and miles. Some people love it, and they love going down that rabbit hole and treating it like a game.
Bankrate.com senior analyst Ted Rossman earned more than $1,700 in rewards in 2022.
Look, they're going to talk about this $1,700 in rewards. What they're not going to tell you, let me back that up. What they're not going to tell you is how much money you had to spend just to get $1,700. This is the same kind of thing that we'll see on like Black Friday or Cyber Monday, where you'll be looking and an item will seem heavily discounted. But in reality, if you spend $600 on that TV that was $800, you did not save $200. You still just spent $600. That's the mindset that we have to be in. We have to be protective of our money. But I'm going to go ahead and cut it right there. I don't want to run through the whole video. Y'all can go check out the original video for yourself if you want to. Let me know y'all's general thoughts on credit cards in the comments below. You know I do my best to respond to every comment because I genuinely do want to have a real conversation with you guys about these topics.